All right, so welcome back. We're going to have some fun this time working with Excel with functions. Again, as I mentioned in a previous video, a formula is you're directing your programming Excel to do the evaluation or that mathematical calculation yourself. Okay, a function is that little black box that has formulas inside of it that you feed in values or text or whatever it is, and the order that you provide it and the way that you provide it, whether it's a percentage or whether it's, a range, once that data is provided to that function, those formulas inside there do the calculation for you and then spit out the result. So I was thinking about what can we do to demonstrate that in a practical manner, the ideas of and the use of functions, and buying a house or buying a car came to mind. Because when we do that, we have an amount that we're either borrowing, or the car or the house costs this much. Okay, so we have that loan amount. We're told, what's the interest rate that we're going to end up paying for it. How long are we going to pay for it? And based on those, and then how many payments we have per year, we can actually figure out what our payment's going to be. And then also we can figure out what is the interest payment for that one loan, and then what is the principal. So the principal is the payment against that $25,000 car or that $450,000 house. Okay, the interest is what you're paying to that bank or the car dealer for the privilege of buying that thing from them. Okay, so let's get started with that. So I'm going to go ahead, and I've pulled up my workbook that I'm using for our recordings here. So let me just type in some text in here. So we have our loan amount, we have our interest rate. Okay, and I'm just going to put interest rate, and then the loan length. How long are we going to pay for that loan? And then how many times a year do we have to make that payment? Okay, so we can say just payments and per year. Okay, we want to know what our payment is going to be, what our principal, and again, the principal is the amount that we're paying, against the principal of the car, the house or whatever, and then our interest rate, not our interest rate, our interest payment. Okay, so we'll put that in there. All right, so let's widen this. All right, so let's just say that we have we want to buy a house, and that house is $450,000. Okay, there, and we probably, in this case, do want to keep the cents, the decimal places, because we don't always end up paying. We don't have any cents when we're making that payment. Okay, so I'm going to keep that there. So my interest rate, the bank says, oh yeah, you can get a 4% rate. Okay, so let's do that. We'll put that in there, 4%. And I want to be a little aggressive, and I want to try and pay this loan off in 15 years. Okay, so we'll do that. And then how many payments are there per year? Well, we know that there's 12. Okay, because every month you got to pay. So what we're going to be doing here is we are going to, be referencing these cells right here, and whatever those values are, we're going to pass those values into our function. Okay, And so if we say, well, 15 years, okay, great. Well, okay, yeah, looking at my finances again, maybe not. Maybe I can do 30 years. Okay, fine. We can change that to 30, and it will automatically adjust and recalculate the payment, and our additional functions in here will give us the interest payment and our different on our formulas. It will be updated also so that we can see what our interest payment is and what our principal is. So pretty sweet. All right, so let's do this. So one of the things that we can do with Excel, dealing with functions, is we can go look at all of the functions that Excel has. It has a tremendous amount out there. So if we go in and did that FX, that insert function, we'll get this pop-up, and we see that it says search for function. We have most recently used. We have select a function, okay? If I were to do the drop-down on most recently used, you'll see all of the different functions, groupings of functions that are available to us, all right? And with additional add-ons to Excel, you can add additional functions that you might end up using for your job. Okay. So one of the things that if you don't know what the function is, you can type in a few words in here to the search for a function, and it should come back with a grouping of functions that meet that criteria. So I'm going to put in a loan payment. Loan payment. Okay. And I see I've got cumulative. This is what? Principals. Okay. I've got payment and I've got rate. So payment is probably the one I want. So PMT, calculates the payment for a loan based on constant payments and a constant interest rate. Sounds like what I need. So let's go ahead and select that. And we're going to get another pop-up, and these function arguments, these are what we're going to provide in here are these values over here using those cell references. So let's do that. So the rate of my loan, okay, is 4%. And here's the thing, you have to divide it by 12, okay, because it takes the interest by month. So 12 months, okay. And my number of periods is the loan payment period, okay, so that's 15. And how many months is that? So that's, there's 12 months in there, so I have to, again, specify that. What is the present value of my loan? Well, the loan is $450,000, and again, I'm just using those cell references to point to those values, okay? And anything in a function that you have that is bolded like this, those are required. If it's grayed out or not bolded, those are optional values, okay? So we can see here, it gives us a preview that my monthly payment would be $3,328 and 59, 0.5 whatever cents. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and that seems reasonable to me, from the values that were provided. Okay. If you see something that's really wacko, like $10,000 or $100,000 or something like that, maybe there's something you need to check the values that you put in there. Okay, so I'm going to click on OK. All right, so my house payment is going to be $3,328.60 a month. Yay! Okay, so now I know what my payment is, but let's do this. Let's say that I want to change it to 30 years. Okay, let's put 30 in there. And as soon as I accept that, we're going to see this value change. Okay, so I went from $33,000 a month to $2,100 a month. Maybe that's a little more up my alley. But as we get to, when we put all of this together, we're gonna put together a loan amortization table that will show us that we can go in and, based on the percentage, the interest rates, the interest rate, the number of years, any additional payments that we put in toward the principal of the loan, we can, by using this amortization table, we can show you, and you can find out for yourself, the impact of those particular values. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go back to 15 years. And so now I want to know what my interest payment is. Okay. Well, let's go back and look at the insert function. And now I want to do interest payment. And let's see. Oh, didn't find anything. Maybe I didn't type well enough. Let me put my glasses on. So interest, we'll just do it that way. Okay, so cumulative interest. Let's scroll down. I'm looking for, let's see. Interest payment returns the interest payment for a given period for an investment based on periodic constant payments and a constant interest rate. Okay, that's good. I can do that. So let's do that. I'm going to do the interest payment. Okay. And again, get that pop up, and I can put in those values. So my rate is 4%, and divided by the payments. How many periods am I going to have to pay on this loan? Okay, well, we know that it's 15 years multiplied by 12 months. Okay. What is, nope, wrong. See, you got to pay attention to this stuff. So this is my period, the payment. Okay, so my payment is just really going to be 1. Okay. All right, and now here's my periods. So I've got 15 years multiplied by 12 months. Okay. And what is my present value of my loan? Well, my current loan is $450,000, so I can put that in there. And when anything bolded is required. Regular is you don't have to provide anything. And it looks like about $1,500, so that seems reasonable. And there. So my house payment in this particular case is $3,328.60, and the interest that I'm paying to the bank is $1,500. Okay, so I can do the math. So how much am I applying? How much of that house do I actually own now? Well, I can do the math. By here, I can do the formula, and I can come in and say, okay, I'm going to subtract the interest from the payment. So hold on, let me get rid of that. Let me come in here. Okay, so equals, I'm going to take the contents of that value there, okay, and subtract the interest, and I should get the principal. So let's see what happens. So I now know that the principal of that is, I'm paying $1,828.60. That's how much of the house I own. That $1,500, that's what the bank has earned from me borrowing $450,000. Okay. So now let's do this. Let's see what happens if I change it again to 30 years. So let's do that, and we'll see what happens with the payment, the principal, and the interest rate. So we see that the house payment went down. My payment went down. The interest is still the same because I still have to pay the bank, okay, money for the privilege of borrowing that. But I am now paying like a third. I own about a third of that house. Okay. So I'm going to put it back to 15 because I want to own more of my house. And yeah, I might be able to support that. So let's do this. We'll do this again. One more. Okay. Give you another example. And this time we're going to do a car. All right, so a reasonable car, I don't know what a reasonable car costs. I only buy used cars. So let's just say $23,000. Okay, so there's my my loan payment, and I am going to increase to the decimal places. And my interest rate is, I don't know what an interest rate these days is let's just say 7%. Okay. What is my loan length? Well, most car loans these days are like 5 years. I still have 12 years or 12 months every year that I have to make a payment. So now let's figure out what our payment is for this car. So again, I'm going to put in the payment. Now that I know what that function is, I can put in payment and then plug in those values. So let's do that. So the rate is 7% divided by the months per year. The number of periods is going to be 5 years times the 12 months. What is my present value of my loan? $23,000. And select that, and it looks reasonable. Okay, so my payment is going to be $455.43. That's my first payment. Okay, well, that's going to be my payment going forward, no matter what. All right, and as you make payments towards that house or that car, you're going to start earning more and more. You're going to start owning more and more and more of that thing, whatever it is, and you're going to also end up paying less principal. But let's figure out what our interest payment is. And we already know what our interest payment is. So the function that we're going to use, so interest payment, select that. And what is our rate? Again, we can put that in there. Divided by 12. Okay. And probably need to redo that. So let's do that. Multiplied by 12. There we go. Nope. Divide by, sorry. And we're going to use the cell reference. Okay, the number of periods, 5 years times 12 payments per year. And just my, again, I goofed that up. It's the period that I'm interested in and then the number of periods. So pay attention to those. All right, so there's that. And then again, my present value is 23,000. And again, I can either use the values or the cell reference. Always better to use the cell reference, makes it a little bit easier. So there is the interest that I'm paying on that car is $134.17. The principal, again, we can input in a formula and minus the interest. And so I own $321.26 of that car. All right. Okay. So these were, more practical examples of using built-in functions. Okay. Now there's another function I just wanted to demonstrate for you that will probably make your life a little bit easier going forward, particularly if you're dealing with large amounts of data in either rows or columns, okay? So let's do this. I'm just going to demonstrate this by putting in some values, okay? So let's put in 100 and then 300, 120, 127, and I'm just going to use this for just these demonstration purposes. So we have these 4 cells that have these values in them. Well, there's a function that you ready available, and that is called the sum function, and that is represented by that Greek iki. And so we can, if I just select that, it will put in a function and fill in some values for me, trying to understand what it's trying to predict what I want it to do some addition on, okay? So what it's saying is that sum function equals sign sum, and it puts in parentheses what it thinks I want to add together, what I want to sum. Now, the one thing that you'll see here is it starts at G3 and goes down to G6, but in between that, you'll see a colon, and that colon in a between 2 cell references is think of it as the word through. So G3 through G6, I want you to add those together. Okay, so accept that little green check mark. And so those 4 values in those 4 different cells, equal 647. You may end up looking at other functions that you may end up coming up, in your work, is there are functions that you can put in, like you want to find the average or the minimum or the maximum, okay? For these 4 values, you can probably figure that out yourself. But again, when you're dealing with hundreds or thousands upon thousands of rows, using these functions and the cell ranges is going to make your life a lot easier. So I want to find what is the minimum number in those 4 cells there, okay? And that function, I'll just tell you what that function is. It's min, M-I-N, okay, minimum. And I'm going to put in those cell references. So G3 colon G6. And you'll notice that when I put that in, that range in there, it highlights those cells. That's a good thing because it tells you, it's trying to display for you what you put in so that you can say, yeah, is that right? Yeah, that's what I want. And you can put in a closing paren or just hit the enter key and it will automatically put that closing paren. And it may give you an error, a warning, that it's doing that or whatever, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and hit the enter key. And so we know that by using that function, the minimum number in those 4 cells is 100. Well, let's find out what the maximum number is. And so max is to find the maximum number in a range or a grouping of cells. Okay, we can do that. And again, I can come in and manually type that in, 100, or I can specify that cell, colon, there, and it will select all those, hit the enter key, and my maximum number is 300. And average, you may think that it's AVG. Nope, it's average spelled out. Okay, so I can do the same thing, G3 colon G6, close paren, and it will then figure out the average of those 4 values or those 10,000 values or whatever it is. Okay, it'll be able to do that for you. Okay, so working through functions, we can, as long as we know, we have to understand what those values that we're going to end up sending into that function. So by doing a search in the list of functions, and we type in something real simple like payments or loan payments or interest payment or whatever, it'll give us its best guess as to what we want to do, and we have to then go in and look for that. Then we have to provide those values that we want the function, the formulas inside that function, to use to give us that answer. Okay, and then we have other functions that will probably make our life a lot easier. Min, max, average, sum, that will help us go forward. All right. So thank you, and we'll see you the next video.